If you're a business owner and you can't take a week off without everything falling apart, then this video is for you, because here's what usually happens. You go on a holiday, or maybe you get sick, or you just try to step back for a few days. And within a day, basically, your phone starts going off, right? Somebody on your team needs a decision. Maybe a customer has a problem that nobody else knows how to solve. Maybe something breaks and everyone's waiting for you to tell them what to do. Things like that, right? So you end up on the beach or in a hotel room answering messages, or you cut the trip short and you come home early, and then you think, well, yeah, that's just how it is when you run a business. It's 24/7. You can never take a break, right? But guess what? This is not how it has to be. And in this video, I want to explain why this happens, because once you understand the real reason, you can actually start to fix it, and it's not as complicated, and it's certainly not impossible. So let's start with what's really going on. When you can't step away from your business, it's almost never because your team is lazy, or because your customers are difficult, or because your business is special, okay? It's because all the important knowledge in the business lives in one place, and usually that's in your head or another key employee. You're the only one who knows how to get things done, right? You're the only one who knows what to do when something goes wrong. So of course, everything runs for you, right? There's no other options when you don't have systems. So when you disappear, then the knowledge disappears with you, and the business just kind of stops, right? That's what you need to be working on. I call this the disappear test. It's really simple. So if you disappeared for 2 weeks right now, no warning, would your business keep running, right? Would it keep serving the customers, delivering the work, keep bringing in the money? And for most business owners that I talk to, the answer is like, no, it wouldn't, right? Something would go wrong. And that's not a small problem. That's the whole problem, because a business that can't run without you is not actually a business yet, right? It's just a stressful job that you happen to own. A very demanding job, actually, that you can't take a break from, right? And which has a crazy boss, which is you. So here's the part that catches people out. The better you are at work, the worse this usually gets, because if you're good, then people rely on you more, right? You're faster, you're the one who gets it right, so everything drifts towards you, right? It's faster if you do it. You become the bottleneck, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're doing everything. Like every decision, every tricky situation, every question, it all comes down to you, right? And the more the business grows, the more of it comes to you, until you're working longer hours than you did when you started, and then you're wondering why growing the business made your life harder instead of easier, right? Like the thing that you wanted to grow the business actually makes your life miserable sometimes. So let's talk about what actually fixes this. And it's not hiring more people. A lot of owners think that, hi, if I just hire the right person, they'll take all of this off my plate. But then they hire somebody, and that person comes back and asks them questions all day, because guess what? That person also doesn't know how things get done. So now you got the same problem, and now you got a salary to pay, plus you're getting frustrated that you hired this person and it's not fixing it, right? Hiring doesn't fix things, because you're just adding another person who has to come to you when, things are not clear. What actually fixes it is getting the knowledge out of your head and other people's heads into the business. And the way you do that is you write down how things get done. Yes, it's the boring work, right? You take the important things that happen in your business, the things that keep coming back to you or to another important person in your business, and you write out the steps, who does what, in what order, what to do when the normal thing doesn't happen, when there are exceptions, and so on. Basically, write process maps. So let me give you a simple example. Let's say a new client or customer signs up. Right now, in your head, you know exactly what happens next, or again, maybe that's some other person, right? They get a welcome message, their account gets set up, somebody follows up with them a few days later. Yeah, you know all of it, right? But it's only in your head or in somebody else's head. So every time a new customer comes in, if you're not around, someone has to ask you. Now, instead of that, you can write it down, right? Like new customer signs up, well, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's who does each step, right? Once that's written down, nobody needs you anymore. Like they just open the document, they follow it. Now you're going to have to enforce it, of course, but the knowledge is now in the business and not in your head or, somebody else's head who becomes a key person in your business. And you do that for the things that matter most. How you handle a complaint, how you send an invoice, how you chase it if you don't get paid, how you take on a new project, how you decide whether to say yes to a certain kind of customer. All the stuff that usually lives in your head, you can move it into documents that anyone on your team can follow. And little by little, slowly, the business stops depending on you for every little thing. Or, depending on another key person in your business, which is just as dangerous to your business. Now, you don't have to do this all at once. Obviously, like that's the mistake people make. They'll get motivated. They think, okay, I got to write down everything in my whole business. Well, that will take forever. So I guess what? They never start, right? So don't do that. Just pick one thing, the thing that interrupts you the most, the question you get over and over and over, the task that always comes back to you. Write that one down first. And then the next week, you pick the next one or the next day, right? And then in a couple of months, you have the most important parts of your business already written down, and you will start feeling the difference straight away because suddenly people stop coming to you for that thing. Again, you're going to have to enforce it. It's just going to happen, right? But here's where it gets interesting because the tools now make this easier than it's ever been, right? AI has changed what one person or one small team can actually handle. AI has completely changed the game. Things that used to need a whole department, you can now set up so they, in some cases, mostly run themselves, following up with leads, answering the common customer questions, sorting and organizing the stuff that used to pile up on your desk. You build the system once, you write down how it works, you set up AI to handle the repetitive parts, and then you just let it run, right? So even a small business today can run like a much bigger one without the owner being glued to it every hour of the day. You got systems, and now you also have AI, which makes all of this like way more efficient and simpler. Now, the AI only helps when you've done the thinking, right? Okay, you can't automate the mess. You have to map down the processes. You have to give it documentation. It's just like another person, right? So it still starts with the same thing. You got to get it out of your head. You got to write down how it works. And then you can train a person, or you can hand it over to an AI agent. And either way, it doesn't need you anymore. But just because we have AI now doesn't mean you don't have to document things, right? So here's how this works. And I've seen this like many times with business owners that I work with. And it's not that dramatic. There's not like a big moment. It's just one day the owner realizes that, their team stopped waiting on them. A customer had a problem, and instead of the whole thing landing on your desk, someone else on the team just handled it because they knew how. A new person joined and they got up to speed. Instead of, waiting for months for them to get productive, it took just a few days, right? Because why? They could just read how things get done instead of shadowing the owner or pinging you for weeks. And then one day, the owner can actually take a week off and the business keeps running. And, you come back and everything is fine. And that's the goal. That's the whole thing, right? Like you need to have a business that runs without you because something can happen to you and, you need vacations, right? So once you're there, something will change about how you feel about the business. Because right now, if you're the bottleneck, if you're burning out, then part of you is always a little bit tense, right? It's stressful. You can never fully switch off. It's Sunday at dinner and there's, part of your brain that's like thinking about something or just waiting for a message to come. When the business runs without you, that all goes away. You get your weekends back. You get to relax. You can actually start thinking about growing the business instead of just surviving the week. And, you get to be present with the family and have a life. Just because you're a business owner doesn't mean you don't have to have a life, right? So that's the disappear test. Ask yourself honestly, if you disappear tomorrow for 2 weeks without notice, what would break? And whatever breaks, that's your list. That's where you start. That's where you start documenting the process, right? Start with the one thing that breaks the loudest, the thing that everyone would panic about first. And you write down how it works, and then you move to the next one, and you go step by step by step. Because the truth is, a business that only works when you're there is not really built yet, right? It's still leaning on you. It's basically a job, and you can keep carrying that for years, and you can work longer and longer hours as the business grows. Or you can invest the time up front right now, getting the knowledge out of your head and into the business so it can finally stand up and run on its own without you, right? And when that happens, you will wonder why you never got started.